Hello everyone, welcome to Nightlight Narratives. My name is Alyssa and I'm going to be reading a story about Peter and the Christmas Elves. Peter had been counting down the days and finally it was Christmas Eve. Living in the North Pole was a gift itself. There were Christmas lights everywhere and in the middle of the town was a huge Christmas tree and a Christmas countdown. The Christmas countdown was finally a giant one that shined the light on all the buildings around it. Peter loved Christmas not only because of the beautiful lights and trees, but because it meant presents from Santa. Peter spent the whole day on Christmas Eve baking cookies with his family and watching Christmas movies around the fire. Finally, after a long day of making desserts, it was time to go to sleep so Santa could come. Peter brushed his teeth and put on his pajamas, ready for bed. In the morning, Peter woke up before anyone in his family. He jumped out of bed and ran to wake up his siblings. Together, they went to wake up their parents. As they jumped down the stairs to the Christmas tree in their living room, Peter noticed something. There were no presents under the tree, not a single one, not one for his sister, his brother, or himself. Peter was shocked. He was frozen. Where were his presents? He turned around to look at his parents, who looked just as surprised. Surely Santa would have brought the kids in the North Pole their presents first, Peter thought. Santa lives in the North Pole, and he makes the presents here. But Peter knew what he had to do. He put on his boots, his coat, his hat, and his gloves. He stepped out of the house and walked to Santa's workshop. He knocked very loudly on the front door. After a few seconds, a few elves stacked on top of each other opened the door. Wow, Peter thought. He had never actually seen the elves in person before, but they were only the size of his head. "Come in," the elves shouted. "Come help us." A few of the elves came and handed Peter small toys that seemed to be broken. "What happened here?" Peter asked as he looked around, broken toys everywhere. There were hundreds of elves running around trying to fix the broken toys, but Santa was nowhere to be seen. A random elf spoke up. "Santa got sick and left the toy making up to us, but we can't do it on our own without Santa. Can you please help us?" A few more elves turned around and stared at Peter, waiting for his response. "I guess so." Several elves cut off Peter's response by shoving broken toys into his arms. Peter immediately got to work and started fixing the toys. He glued pieces together, put objects into place, and wiped off dirt and dust. He knew he must save Christmas and help kids around the world like himself get their gifts. After a while of helping the elves, Peter heard someone laughing deeply behind him. He turned around, and there Santa was, and he was walking right over to Peter. "And who are you?" Santa asked. I'm Peter. The elves asked me to help them save Christmas," Peter told him, frightened that Santa would be mad that there was a human boy in his workshop. "Well, is that right?" Santa laughed and looked around at the elves for confirmation. "Yes, sir," Peter said nervously, waiting for another reply. Santa reached out his hand to shake Peter's. "Well, let's get going then. We have a lot of presents to deliver."